afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going to be going to that horrible world known as the JRC, but first, the usual disclaimers and trigger warnings. Can you all hear me? Alright, there we go. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be right there in the description box. We have, of course, the ones we want you to take special note of, such as Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, which includes court transcripts, ER documentation in regards to the injuries received while being at the Judge Rotenberg Center for all former students. Examples including Jennifer Masumba's behavioral contract in regards to what they considered shockable offenses. Definitely get a look at that. If you want the lowdown in regards to that case, that is the best place to start. Also included is the article written by Neuroclastic. They are a small non-for-profit that is started by Autistics for Autistics. This particular article really flies in the face of the JRC and completely removes their ability to appeal to authority because they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center's so-called Behavior Modification Program. It's for that reason that it managed to get under the JRC's skin and prompted them to threaten Neuroclastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove that article from the website. Neuroclastic refused, folks, so it's still there on their website and linked right there in the description box. Please read it and share it on all your social media. We also have included Neuroclastic's GoFundMe that some of us set up for them when the threat first came out against him in regards to the JRC. So, in case they ever do see through with their threat, if you could give, I know they would appreciate it. If you can't and you would share it, they would appreciate that as well, because unlike the JRC, we just don't have access to unlimited money. Trigger warnings will be discussed places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please make sure to use the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is very much advised. Alright, we're going to go where we left off last time, which is in regards to the fact of the FDA getting accused by the JRC of just discounting all the numerous evidence that shows that it's real. And look at the science. That's not science. Want to know what science is, JRC? How the scientific method usually works, and we learned this in both middle school and high school, is you come up with a hypothesis. You come up with an experiment to see if your hypothesis is correct. If it looks correct, the next step is to have your results replicated by complete and unattached other research centers and universities. If they all come back with the same conclusions, that's when it becomes viewed as scientific fact. JRC, you've done none of this. Literally none of this. But it stops the behavior. At what cost? A, the impact that it has is instantaneous, but it doesn't last. B, when you remove the device, behaviors come back, and they become more intense, and sometimes there's whole new troubling behaviors that come up afterwards, because that's what happens when people who go through horrific shit are processing their trauma. It doesn't change just because we're neurodivergent, okay? Neurodivergent kid rescued from an abusive home, acting out. Nobody's trying to send them off to places like the JRC. They get them counseling, they get them psychiatrists and psychologists and real mental health help. If it's one of our neurodivergent folks, unless we're exceedingly lucky, they blame it on our diagnosis, do nothing to assist with our mental health, when in the fact, the triggering points that cause the behavior, guess what? Mental health professionals work wonders in helping you uncover what those triggers are and work with you on the best ways to address them. The JRC believes in pseudoscience, and just trust me, brah. And we're supposed to go along because they have a whole bunch of letters behind their names. Problem is, the rest of the world in the medical model also have letters behind their names. Their results have been replicated as per the scientific method over and over again over the last several decades. So yeah, more gaslighting nonsense. Let's get into it, shall we? FDA's refusal to consider the actual experience of the JRC's patients and their care is also inconsistent with FDA's publicly stated position that real-world evidence is not a thing that is nice to have, it is a need to have. Again, JRC, what more evidence do you actually need before you realize just how monstrous and evil your own actions are? You want to talk real-world evidence? ER documents, ER photographs, video surveillance footage, court transcripts, the testimony from some of the leading figures within the world of mental health, in particular to do with post-traumatic stress disorder and those who are processing through trauma. What the hell else do you need the FDA or anybody else for that matter to bring forward before you admit the savagery of what you do? How about some more real-world evidence, such as the Special Rapporteur on Torture from the UN? Two different special rapporteurs on torture, I might add. One in 2013, one in 2016. Who told you it was torture? Gentlemen who actually literally specialize in regards to torture. That is, their job. But that's not real world evidence? Fire your lawyers. Because if this is the fence, dear God, I thought Elaine was bad. While FDA's avowed goal is to consider patient-centric perspectives here, has consistently ignored the perspectives of those best positioned to speak to their children's specific medical needs. You're going to say, the parents know best. Meanwhile, in the real world, abusive parents exist. Parents that have not spent their lives within the field of mental health or medical care. It's anecdotal. Okay? Do you have any idea how many parents still believe anti-vax nonsense that has been debunked so many times at this point? How anybody actually believes that shit is beyond me. Okay? Parents will believe some stupid shit. I speak to this as a person who has worked in this field and have had many of the parents across from my desk from me in dealing with their kids and getting them within the service system. In this area in particular, I know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Okay? So you ignore their testimonies, you ignore our evidence because it's not evidence. It was a bunch of shit you all cobbled together on the fly and then tried to present it in such a way saying, here's your objectives. See, they agree with us, from papers that go back to a time before the GED device even existed. How can you even use such documentation to prove this method works when the papers that you are using are from before you even invented the device? Make it make sense. Because those papers are absolutely positively irrelevant to the subject at hand. And the only reason why the FDA went through them at all was to show that they were not being partial to any side and were trying to be as transparent as humanly possible, or as I like to call it, what objectivity actually looks like. Again, it is not ours, nor is it the FDA's fault that you, JRC, continue to fail time and time and time again to prove your case in regards to how wonderful your so-called pseudoscience insanity works. That's not our fault. You can't say that the FDA is biased and they're just picking on you when you can't even bother to cobble together even like halfway decent looking crap. I mean, it's like you all don't even try. But no, it's the FDA's fault, clearly. We should just listen to the parents. We should just respect the letters behind your names and your just trust me brah explanations and just go with it. And then would we be considered objective by the JRC? Do you realize that is the exact opposite of the definition of what objectivity is? If the FDA were the boogeyman the JRC is trying to make them out to be, if they were so unfair, then explain to me, like I'm 5, why the hell it took from 2014, when the first proposed ban was put on the docket, literally all the way to 2020, almost a goddamn decade, before the final rule was passed. You had multiple years to be able to present your case and your side. Okay? It's not our fault. You all do not have any firm, concrete, completely objective evidence that proves your point. We are not biased because we like to go with facts over just trust me, bro. Okay? Your arguments are absolutely ridiculous. You insinuating that the FDA was not being objective and were just dismissing people left, right, and center is an absolute lie. If those parents were actually dismissed, they would have not been allowed to testify to the panel. They allowed that to go on for nearly a goddamn decade before they finalized the rule. You get plenty of time. Same amount of time as the other side to present your side of the case. You failed to do so. Your evidence had more holes in it than Swiss cheese. Okay? Simple as. And all of us, FDA included now, are getting really tired of explaining to you why everything you are asserting is utter bullshit. And you continue forward as though we did not answer at all and continue to repeat the same copy-paste bullshit. Okay? All right, folks. In regards to data, JRC, before we close up for this one, there is no objective data that you can point to and put in front of our faces that is current, that agrees with you. Other alternative different programs can and do every single year while being absolutely scrutinized in a way that the JRC has never been scrutinized. So please stop that argument. You're not proving your point. You are once again resembling a toddler not getting their way. And we are more than done with the temper tantrums. We're going to go ahead and close out on that one, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do hope you have a good one. I'll see you again here in a few seconds. Bye, everyone.